This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
President Trump has declared a public safety emergency in Washington, D.C., announcing the federal government will take control of the city's police department. He says National Guard troops will be deployed to combat crime. According to D.C. Metro Police data, violent crime in the capital is actually down 26% compared to the same time last year. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser says the city has done a lot to reduce crime.
We have seen a huge decrease in crime because of those efforts. We have been able to reverse that 2023 crime spike.
The mayor also called the president's moves unsettling and unprecedented. CDC staff voicing anger at Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s history of vaccine misinformation following Friday's deadly shooting at the agency's Atlanta headquarters. A police officer was killed, and the suspect had reportedly told a neighbor he believed COVID vaccines made him sick. Kennedy toured the CDC campus Monday, viewing damage from shattered windows, and later met with the slain officer's widow. Employees are working remotely this week. The shooting has renewed fears among public health officials who say hostility toward them has grown in recent years, fueled in part by Kennedy's vaccine claims. He has not addressed whether such rhetoric played a role in the attack. The White House says about 850 officers and agents flooded Washington, D.C. Monday night, making 23 arrests in what is called a massive law enforcement surge. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says charges range from homicide and gun crimes to drug possession, stalking, and more. She also added this message to Democrats.
And I think it's despicable that Democrats cannot agree that we need more law and order in a city that has been ravaged by violence, crime, murders, property theft. This should be a winning issue for all Americans.
President Trump has decided to send in the National Guard and put city police under federal control, despite violent crime being at a 30-year low. We've learned more about last week's CDC shooting in Atlanta. Authorities say the man accused of firing nearly 200 rounds into CDC buildings died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The 30-year-old shooter allegedly opened fire August 8th near Emory University, striking 6 CDC buildings. DeKalb County officer David Rose, a husband and father of 2 with a child on the way, was killed in the shooting. Investigators say White had expressed discontent with COVID-19 vaccines and had suicidal thoughts weeks before the attack. Texas House Democrats who fled the state over a proposed GOP redistricting plan say they will return after the state legislature adjourns Friday. The walkout stalled a map that would give Republicans 5 more U.S. House seats, a move pushed by President Trump. Governor Greg Abbott has vowed to keep calling special sessions until the plan passes. Meanwhile, California lawmakers have introduced their own redistricting proposal, with Governor Gavin Newsom claiming it will help Democrats seize control of Congress and end the Trump presidency. President Trump and Russia's President Putin are in Alaska. Mr. Trump greeted Putin as he walked from his plane. The two men rode together to their summit location. Earlier, Trump was asked what did he expect from today's meeting.
I think President Putin will make peace. I think President Zelensky will make peace. We'll see if they can get along.
Now, keep in mind, Ukraine's President Zelensky has not been invited to today's discussion. If Putin agrees to a future meeting with the 3 men, that in itself would be considered a win. Another win would be a ceasefire. Ukraine is willing to accept a ceasefire, which would be followed by talks about the future status of Russian-occupied territory. If Putin says yes to a ceasefire, that would be huge. A federal judge in Maryland has struck down 2 Trump administration efforts to end diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in schools and universities. The judge ruled that the Education Department broke the law when it threatened to pull funding from institutions with DEI initiatives, siding with education groups who sued earlier this year.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 279 of This is the G Podcast. What's going on, y'all? Thank you. Of course, we're your weekly news, politics, pop culture recap podcast every single week, and also the T. Yours truly will be doing the T, I guess, for the rest of the month, because Tanya B is on birthday hiatus for the month of August. So I want to say thank you to everybody who is joining us and joins us, watches us, listens to us on Spotify. If you're not, go ahead and sign up for Spotify. We are there. Make sure that you look for is the G podcast, and that'll pretty much keep you updated on everything we're doing. So as we tape, it's episode 279, and as we're taping at a different time we normally tape. And I guess, what do you call it? The Trump-Putin summit is going on in Alaska. Howie, first of all, I got to say what's up to you, man. Give you your applause. So Howie,
thanks for the invitation again.
No problem, man. How you feeling about the summit?
Well, I think it's a sham to be I think it's a sham. I don't think it's going to amount to anything. How can you have a peace summit, and one of the parties is not there to participate in the summit? That's one thing. I think, again, our current president is hoping for a Nobel Peace Prize, and I read the other day that Hillary Clinton said that she would nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize if he's able to negotiate this peace treaty without Ukraine having to give up any property or any land. And I think that's 100% dead at the door. That's not going to happen. I don't think Putin wants anything but Ukraine to become under Russian rule. And I don't think Ukraine don't want to do that. Zelensky is not giving that up. So again, just a sham, won't move forward. But again, another pictured opportunity for our current president.
Yeah, I got you. Harold Michael Harvey, thank you so much, man. HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. Now on Substack. And the articles are flying. You are hitting it. I signed up for Substack because of you. I got the app. So I'm getting all these notifications, all these stories. I got to catch up. There's so many stories right now. I got to catch up. But thank you, first of all, for really keeping us up on what's going on with so much going on, giving us a narrative and some explanation for what's going on. So you're looking, and we're watching this, and we don't talk international politics that much, but this Trump-Putin summit, what are you seeing?
I see it like Howard sees it. It's just a sham. And as Howie said, how can you have a summit to talk peace when one of the essential parties to the struggle is not at the table? Just can't be done. And, so it's more performance for a photo opportunity for the U.S. president to seek Nobel Peace Prize, But who actually asked the Nobel Peace Prize Committee to award them a Nobel Peace Prize? Nobody does.
Yeah, nobody.
No one who deserves it won. Yeah, no one who deserves one asked for it.
Yeah, right. But if you're a narcissist, of course, just another notch on the belt. Another notch. Yeah. Quick question while I've got you, moving on. Where do you think we are? We're looking at last week's episode, and it's still ongoing. We've got the Texas situation with the legislators, members of Congress running from their state to protect their redistricting or the districting they currently have. And then you've got what's happening in Washington, D.C., where you've got a federal takeover of the police department or policing. By the way, as we tape, the most recent update is they're taking them to court. D.C. has basically put together a case, and they're saying that it's unconstitutional and unlawful for the president to have this much influence. Where do you think we are, Harold Michael Harvey? When I want you to weigh it based on all these Substack articles, which you're going to make sure I have the link to, and I'll put it on the podcast, put it in the notes. Where are we, man? What is?
Man, we're in a hot mess. Okay, the country is literally under siege by this American president. It's the federal government is out of control, led by a president who is out of control and is sending U.S. troops and nationalizing state militias, state National Guards in various states in the country. You got California, at least Los Angeles, where he has sent in troops and nationalized the Guard. And he has done the same thing in D.C. and even has gone so far in D.C. as to appoint a super public safety director to be over the public safety director that is already in place in the District of Columbia. And that is what the court case is about, is to say that the law that allows the president under certain circumstances to bring troops into the District of Columbia does not give the president the authority to usurp the power and authority of the police force that is already in place. So the mayor and attorney general of the District of Columbia are arguing that the federal government cannot tell the police chief and public safety director what they should do and how they should go about their duties. But when you see the videos that's going around of police confrontation with citizens, or ICE confrontation with citizens, or now the FBI's confrontation with citizens in the District of Columbia, it's just a very brutish and harsh interactions that we thought after the Michael Wright and after all the turmoil coming out of the pandemic.
George Floyd, after the George Floyd.
That's right. We had put all that behind us.
Mm-hmm.
But we are seeing this type of policing taking place again. It was encouraged by Donald Trump in 2016. He says when you're arresting, you ought to shove their heads inside the police car. And that's the type of policing we're seeing on the streets now. It's over-policing. The country is in a bad place. And some people, there's been this talk for several months about, I'm not going back, or that he's trying to take us back. Well, I got news for you. We're already back. And
wow.
We don't stop and do something to reverse this course. It's going to be very, very difficult in the next 3 years to get back to where we were before January the 20th this year.
And I want to say this, based on what you're saying in D.C., statistically, we talked about this in the last podcast, and I was saying, I know it's a joke, but it's reality. They're kind of wishing statistics back out into the cornfield, because the numbers he's using to justify everything are off. Crime is down across the board. He's using the statistics to, I guess, invoke his will. And he I heard something this week where they were talking about even suspending job numbers, and I've never heard a president talk about suspending numbers just because he feels it's going to be or cause a disadvantage in terms of pushing their agenda. I mean, you got to deal with the good and the bad. You got to take it. But this whole D.C. thing is going to be interesting. As Mario Bowser put it, people, you need to stop weaponizing our city. So it's fear mongering. There's a lot going on right now that's counter to some of the gains that city's made. Now, all of us know D.C. I mean, well, if you know, D.C. back in the day was dangerous. Let's be honest. But it's come a long way. It has come a long way from what used to be. So yeah, it's a weaponization just to get an agenda pushed. So it'll be interesting to see what the other states, because they could easily go after other cities. You're looking at, and predominantly you're looking at the Democratic cities. Baltimore is next. They're talking about Baltimore.
That's exactly right.
So okay, all right. So any
I think just a parting shot on that. I think any city in this country that has any major city in this country that has a black mayor, expect the federal troops to roll up in your state, in your city, anytime within the next 9 months.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, looking at Atlanta, looking at what, of course, we've already mentioned Baltimore.
Well, now Atlanta maybe not in that mix now, and for this reason, this week they took Atlanta off of the list of sanctuary cities.
Okay.
Where Trump administration had been targeting these cities that were on the sanctuary city list where they would protect their citizens. Well, the Trump administration took Atlanta off that list, and I surmise that he's probably doing it for two reasons. Number one, his close relationship with Jones, who's running for governor on the Republican side, and also the fact he has this good relationship with the current governor. And so
but
I think
that relationship is, I want to stop there for a minute, because I got the feeling throughout Kemp's administration that it was still somewhat hands-offish to the end, like toward the fact, he's a lame duck now.
Okay,
so,
let's take Kemp off the table, but I still think Burke Jones, the relationship he has with Burke Jones is the main driving force of having Atlanta removed from that list, which may mean that he's not going to dramatize Georgia, what he has done with California, Los Angeles, and with the District of Columbia.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's what that means in the long run. But Chicago,
let's talk about Chicago too. Yeah, without a doubt, Chicago's on that list. Yeah, yeah. Since you're in the state of Georgia, and I know a lot of other folks who are in other states listen, but I do think Georgia is an important state. You know, in some cases, it could be potentially a swing state. We have the gubernatorial race coming up. When is it? Next year? The general election?
next year. That's
is that
right.
happening?
Yes.
So we talked about, Kemp, who actually Kemp fought Trump all the way up to the end. Up until the last election, he did come on board and endorse him. But again, he's a lame duck. He's leaving. But as of this taping, there is a gubernatorial meet and greet that's happening in our city where we are, south of us in Warner Robins, Macon, and it's hosted by the Houston County and Bibb County NAACP. The thing that I say about this race is anybody but Burt Jones. I mean, I know that's a huge umbrella and tent, but first of all, he was one of the first state representatives to endorse MAGA Trump, period. He was the first one. He's been outspoken. He wants everything MAGA. I mean, even to the point where I think he's probably more extreme or going to be more extreme than Marjorie Taylor Greene. Anybody but him. I'm looking at the Republican side, the primaries. If there's a way to cross over strategically right now, I mean, anybody but him. But I'm going to leave it at that before I get into the other candidates. Go ahead.
But can I speak on that? And the reason I want to speak on that is this.
Yeah, go ahead, speak.
Here is something we have to learn from the last 12 years. And that is, in the last 12 years, we spent more time talking about a candidate that we didn't want, as opposed to talking about a candidate that we wanted and why we wanted that candidate. And every time you magnify the name of somebody you say you don't want, you would just magnify them into that universal sound wave that people pick up on, and you end up with them.
Well, I'm going to say this. I agree. But let me say this. For me, it's for me as a podcaster, it's more of a warning. I want to give you a warning shot, and then I have a candidate, which I think is the best candidate overall.
I would much rather talk about who your candidate is and who your candidate is not.
But I do want to say that for the state of Georgia, because candidly, we were having this conversation before we started the podcast. The numbers are against how can I say it? A liberal I want to say far left to the left candidate. The numbers are against it when you look at the state. Okay, you got to hopefully turnout is going to be better next year. But when it comes down to it, as much as you hate to put it like this, you've got to find somebody who can appeal to the state. Now, we thought there was a candidate who appealed to the state in Stacey Abrams. She lost twice, okay? There may be some other factors in that. Right. But I tend to when I look at all the candidates, I look at Thurman. I look at Michael Thurman because Thurman, for me, understands the entire state, okay? He's a state guy. As you and I were talking about Harold Michael Harvey, he's from Athens. Not only that, he's a good choice. He was appointed. He was labor. How long was he labor secretary for? 2 terms?
8 or 12
I think he was a three-term labor commissioner.
Yeah, 3-term labor commissioner. He gets it.
He was appointed. He won that race. He won his race statewide.
He won his race. He did.
I believe he may have been the first black statewide candidate to win before Thurgood Baker became the state attorney general.
Yeah, exactly right. He was the first African American to win the statewide race. He lost the second time around. We talked about this in the Senate race. I can't remember the guy he lost to, but he lost the second time he ran in a statewide race. But that's important, but there's other things that are equally important to the governor's race. You're talking about abortion, because remember, the current administration has pushed all those rights down to the state level now. LGBTQ conversations, and you got Medicaid conversations, all those things are pushed down to the state. Currently, we, the state of Georgia, have a governor that is not pushing Medicaid at all. So we got rural hospitals and rural doctors being pushed away and pushed out of those areas. Now those constituents have to drive, 45 minutes, hour and a half for medical treatment. So while the governor race is the bright light, person you choose for that has a lot of tentacles that is important to the state overall.
Yeah, and I tend to say when it comes down to Medicare, Medicaid, and the state hospitals, it's critical because what's happening is a lot of that money that's gone into the state coffers could have gone to save a lot of these rural hospitals, and the money didn't go there. The money was held back. So when you look at the state of Georgia and people say, well, the state of Georgia is doing well fiscally, look at the coffers, look at the savings, because they're not using the money to save the hospitals. I mean, that's why. So I do think you've got to have somebody who understands the state, who can make the argument for all the people within the state. But I do, you've heard my candidate. When you look at the folks who are running, I'll go to you, Howie. Is there anybody who stands out for you? Because I'm not here telling you who. I'm just telling you who I think would be the best candidate statewide. Who do you look at or look to?
Yeah, well, I agree. I think Thurman has the best chance in a statewide race. There's several names that I didn't recognize when I looked them up, but the one that does come to the top that's recognizable is Keisha Lance Bottoms. But I don't think she can carry the city that she was mayor of most recently because of, in my opinion, she seemed to have ditched Atlanta and during the second term and didn't run during the second term. Thurman is we talked about this. He's a local guy. He's out of Athens. He's a HBCU, Payne College. He's a JD from South Carolina. My only concern about Thurman at this point is his age. He'll be 72. But beyond that, I think he's the guy that can carry the state forward and support the state, everybody in the state, and not just a small segment of the population of the state of Georgia.
Go to you, Harold Michael Harvey. You mentioned Bottoms. You're in Atlanta, resident, Fulton County.
Well, it does seem to me as a resident of Fulton County that she sort of left us in the lurch and didn't run to defend her seat. And when you look at the field as it now is constituted, the person that I've seen that has been traveling around the state the most is Thurman is Baker. Excuse me.
Michael Thurman.
Michael Thurman. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I've attended several banquets in Northwest Georgia in the last couple of years, where the keynote speaker at those banquets was
Michael Thurman.
And so he's going to rural Georgia, campaigning, being introduced by folks in the rural community who knows him well, who served with him in the legislature, and can talk about how he can reach across the aisle and get conservative Republicans to vote with him, and how he can reach within his own party and get conservative and liberal components of that party together on a bill. And, he has run one of the largest counties in the state of Georgia for, I believe, 8 years, maybe more. Yeah. And by all accounts, he did an outstanding job in that county, So in terms of being able to go throughout the state and run and win, I think that's Thurman. Excuse me.
You want to call it? I just want to change that man's name, but go ahead.
I'm going to reach over here and get his book here about Oberthorpe and but yes, but in any event, when you get to Keisha Lance Bottom, you got Stacey Abrams all over again. I believe she'll run into the same problems that Stacey ran into, trying to get rural Georgians on board of her campaign. And so it's going to take a combination of urban voters and rural voters to win, both in the Democratic primary, but also in the general election. And I believe that the person who can bridge those two components of the state of Georgia is probably former CEO of DeKalb County.
Yeah, right. And I'm going to say this, and I'll throw it back to you, Howie. Hang on for me just a moment. Weather. Yeah. Okay. I want to say this to folks who look at Michael Thurman and the time he spent there and compare him to Keisha Lance Bottoms. I think Bottoms, her issue, the challenge will be two things: the city of Atlanta and her decision not to run. Okay. The other thing, I think, the fact that she worked within the Biden administration. Now, that may work for the blue bubble, but it's not going to work in these rural areas if they position her as voting for basically Joe Biden. That's the way they're going to do it. If you were a Joe Biden fan, you're not going to see anything wrong with that. But if you're in MAGA country, which a lot of folks, it's interesting. I have a lot of friends who live in Atlanta inside the perimeter. They don't drive around the state. They don't spend time outside of what I call the blue bubble. But I'm here to tell you, when you drive south, and you can, attest and agree with me on this, Harold Michael Harvey, the Trump signs are everywhere. Mm-hmm. They are everywhere. Mm-hmm. So my point is that works against her when you start positioning her as, oh, she's Joe Biden. So it's going to be interesting. Again, this, by the way, as we tape this, and by the time some of you may hear it, the event would have happened, but it's August 20th. It's August 20th. It's happening in Warner Robins, Georgia. I think this is the First Baptist New Beginning Center, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and it's being sponsored by the Houston County and Bibb County NAACP. It's going to be interesting. It's not a debate. It's just a meet and greet, which I think it is important for these candidates to get out and about. And I'm just going to say their last names. You got Jackson, Thurman, Carr, Adams, Stevez, Asgar, Jones, and Brown. Those are the folks who are going to be involved in this. So that's happening August 20th. 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay. I want to wrap this part of the show, and I want to give it to Harold Michael Harvey, and I want to say congrats. He's having an event that's happening at the end of this year where he honors the first five, call them Fantasy Five, the first five Black Macon City Council people. Tell us a little bit about this event and how people can get involved in it.
Okay. Basically, in 1823, when the city of Macon was founded, Black people who were found in the city and in the county of Bibb at that point in time were enslaved people. And there was never any hope or prospect that they would be anything else but slaves or that they could ever hold public office. And lo and behold, in the summer of 1975, 9 African Americans ran for post on the Macon City Council. 5 of those 9 people actually won the election the summer of 1975, 50 years ago. And so they were sworn in on December the 12th, 1975. And during the 49th year, I decided to do some research on them and to write their story. And I named that book Fantasy Five, the election of the first 5 Black members of the Macon City Council. And I give that history, give the history of the town from 1823 up to 1979. That covered their 4 years in office, that first term. In the summer of 75, I was a political poster for Reverend Julius C. Hope, who was the first Black candidate to run for mayor of Macon. And we were able to get him into a runoff, but we got swamped in the runoff. So everywhere that I positioned Reverend Hope to be, these 9 individuals, Black individuals, were there to asking voters to vote for them for city council. So I got to see them on the campaign trail. And since Hope lost, I went back to my job as a journalist with the newspaper, with the Macon Courier. And so City Hall was my beat. And so I'm there at City Hall and I'm covering their activities as they interacted on that council. And so you get some direct reporting from me from back in that day. And of course you have my reflections on the past 50 years and what they all meant. I was very critical of some of their actions back then, but 50 years later, in retrospect, that was a powerful group. It was 5 of them. It was a 15-member body, which means that all they had to do was convince 3 other of the white council members to go along with them, and they could kill or pass any measure that came before that body.
So, yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. I wanted to
get to the event. I'm sorry.
Live at this point, and will the families be attending the event? You got to tell them where the event is. What's going on?
The event will take place in Macon, Georgia. Of course, there are 2 events at 10 o'clock on December 12th in the city council chambers, but now it's the commissioners' chambers. The mayor will read a proclamation honoring them for what they did 50 years ago. And at 12 o'clock, we'll convene at the Tubman Museum in the Richard Cowell Room, where we'll have a luncheon to give them honor. Now, all of the members are now deceased. Reverend Dr. Eddie D. Smith was the last surviving member. He died in March. And so my book came out last year, and I was hoping that the city or some civic group in Macon, because I don't live there anymore, would take it upon themselves to do something to honor this 50-year legacy. And so I went down to Macon for Eddie's memorial service, and on my drive back to Atlanta, I said, if nobody wants to do it, why not you? Yeah. After all, you've carried this story in your head and in your heart for 50 years. You wrote the book, you should do it. So I put together a committee to fund, to promote and to produce this event. We've contacted members of the family of all of the 5. We hope they will be there, and we hope to pay them an honor and a tribute for what their family members did 50 years ago. And it's very important to do this because we're in an era when in the country, coming from the White House, there's this effort to erase and suppress our history in this country. And that was history that those 5 individuals, 4 men and 1 lady, created in Macon, Georgia in 1975. And what they did, they're in other cities and communities throughout this country around about the same time, and some cities and localities earlier did the same thing. And so we should always honor and remember that history. I hope to get the Bibb County Board of Education involved so that I can get into the schools and teach this legacy of these 5 individuals to the students in the Bibb County public school system. And so that is
let me give you that. I give you props for making. I mean, really for taking what is probably a labor of love for you and pouring your resources and your sweat equity into this to make it work. So kudos to you. And I know people can find out more information on the event at HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. Is that correct? The link is
correct.
Link is there.
The link is there. And can I say this, because
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Part of since we're talking about it, I pledged to my sponsors that in any public engagement I had, I would mention that they were a sponsor. And at this point, a few months out from the event, we have one sponsor. And that sponsor is the Bibb County Sheriff Office in Bibb County, Georgia. So they're a sponsor, and I want the public, I owe it to my sponsor that when I'm on a media outlet to mention that the Bibb County Sheriff's Office is a sponsor of this event, and we're glad to have them to be a sponsor and to participate in this event. And of course,
is that David Davis?
That is David Davis, is the sheriff of Bibb County.
Right. And so I'm gonna give it up to him. Go ahead.
Give it up to him because he came through, sent his check right away, and I'm still waiting on other members in the business and political community in Macon and Bibb County to support this event so we can really have a nice event. I don't know if you had been to an event down there that was catered by Chef Michaels, but Chef Michael is a very exquisite caterer, and the food is going to be delicious. We're going to have a nice program. I'm even bringing my wife out of retirement. She was a broadcaster in that area 50 years ago. She was, in fact, the first female radio broadcaster at WMAZ Radio, at least first black one. And so I'm bringing her out to be the mistress of ceremony. She'll be joined by Angel Irvin Cobb, who was the first black female on WMAZ TV. She had hosted her own program on that station. So I'm bringing them out of retirement to host this event, and we hope to have a nice event. But you can find out more information about it at HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. You can see I'm excited. Nobody wanted to do it. I'm going to do it, even if I have to.
I'm letting you roll, man.
Even if I have to stay in my pocket to do it. If everything other than for Sheriff Davis's check, if I have to come out of my pocket to put everything else to it, I'm going to do it. And we're going to honor those people because the legacy should never die. We should always remember Willie C. Hill, Dolores Brooks, Julius Vincent, Vernon Colbert, Dolores Brooks. I think that's all 5. Yes, sir.
There you go. They should congratulations. Congratulations. And we've got time. We'll definitely make sure, but it'll be December before you know it. They're already putting up they're already putting the jack-o'-lanterns out. They're putting Halloween candy out. It's like it's not even Labor Day. So it'll be before you know it. Harold Michael Harvey, thank you so much. Go to HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. All things HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. Look him up on Substack as well. Am I saying that right? Because I have yet to really put my content
Substack.
out there. Substack, yeah. A lot of folks are
Yeah,
doing. God, I've got so many folks who are sending me Substack articles right now, like a ton of them. So I appreciate you doing something that caters to the community. So Harold Michael Harvey,
read
thank
mine
you
and
so
share.
much.
Okay.
What's that?
I said, read my Substack and share, and you can find me, your audience can find me on Substack at haroldmichaelharvey.substack.com. So it's
Excellent.
just that clean and simple. haroldmichaelharvey.substack.com.
Good stuff. Harold Michael Harvey, thank you so much. Howie, let's go ahead and take a break, man, and we'll come back and do some tea, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Harold Michael Harvey, you have a good evening. I hear some thunderstorms back there, man. So
Yes,
be
right over
careful
here.
tonight.
Okay.
Be careful.
Thank you for
All
having
right,
me.
take care. No problem. Anytime. Thank you so much.
Howie, peace.
Yeah, Howie, man. You ready to do some tea, man? Tanya B's off this month, so you ready?
I got you.
All right, let's do it.
Now then,
Oh,
children,
yeah.
it's time for tea.
It's
Tanya
tea
B's taking-
time,
Tanya-
y'all.
Tanya B's taking a
Sipping
birthday
the tea
month.
with
Oh,
Tanya
yes.
B.
It is birthday month for Tanya B, so I am doing the tea for you, man. We got to say rest in peace, rest in power, Danielle D. Spencer, Dr. Danielle Spencer, beloved from What's Happening, actress. She was a veterinarian, a vet. Danielle Spencer died August 11th, 2025, at the age of 60. Best known for her role as the sharp-witted Dee Thomas on the classic ABC sitcom What's Happening Now. I always want to say that's my mama, but that was Clifton Davis, man. So you remember, I mean, of course, I know you remember 76, 79, What's Happening.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, and she was the young lady who worked in the lunchroom. She went to the cafeteria or
No,
shop.
she wasn't.
Wasn't it?
No, that was Shirley Hemphill. This is Dee. This is his sister, kid's sister. So, hey, come on, man.
The sister, yes, who had the attitude.
Yes,
right,
come
who
on,
had the
man.
attitude. I got you.
Come on, man. But anyway, man,
Yes.
just
Oh,
rest
yeah, I
in
got you.
power. Fans flooded social media, man. We're calling her humor, charm, a lot of tributes on her acting career, and also tributes to her as a veterinarian. One fan saying she was the show. Rest easy, sweetheart. Also, man, Beyonce is making Emmy history. Beyonce
She was
secured
young.
her. Yeah, she was. Beyonce secured her first primetime Emmy on August 12th in a juried category for outstanding costumes for her Netflix NFL halftime special, Beyonce Bowl, which happened December 2024. The Western-themed performance tied to Cowboy Carter drew 27 million viewers, man, and trended over Christmas, really. This win puts her closer. She's not an EGOT yet, but it puts her closer to becoming an EGOT. She shares the award with I think it looks like 5 others total, but kudos to Beyonce for winning that award. And she's still in contention for 2 September Emmys for Outstanding Variety Special for this, as well as directing. We'll see. I mean, she's loading up on awards. But I'm wondering, the interesting thing about the whole EGOT for her is whether or not she can get an Oscar, and whether or not there's a movie opportunity coming up for her, because I thought, the biggest opportunity she had was when she was in Dreamgirls, to me. And I don't know is it too late for Beyonce to get a role?
Yes.
You think, to put her in a position for an Oscar?
No, I think no. I think she. I don't know if she'll be in a position for an Oscar, but I think she can get a role. Those Oscar roles have to be meaningful and a bit dramatic on both sides. And I don't know if her skill level puts her there yet, but absolutely she can still act and get in roles though. That
Yeah,
may
that's
be
the
a
only
reach
win.
for us.
Unless I guess if she wins maybe a song, if she has a song in a movie and it wins, that would be another way if she doesn't get it.
Maybe a song. Yeah.
So we'll
maybe
see,
something
because
like
when she was doing Dreamgirls, Jennifer Hudson won the Oscar for that. All right, so Wendy Williams, man, this is interesting. The guardianship thing for Wendy Williams. Basically, there's a new cognitive test as we tape that came out this week that confirmed Wendy's 2023 diagnosis for frontal temporal dementia and aphasia. The tests were ordered by the court-appointed guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, to halt this litigation that's going on over A&E's documentary. Now, Wendy's lawyer, and I got to say his name right, Joe Tacopina, slammed the results as false, accusing Morrissey of leaking them to maintain an excessive, and I quote, excessive and restrictive guardianship. He demanded, where's the actual medical report? And challenged the doctors to testify under oath. He said Wendy had a 10 out of 10 score on a March competency exam, calling her guardianship a luxury prison. The battle over autonomy continues, and we'll see how that works out. Man, that's all I did for this week. Not a whole lot in the tea. There's some smaller stuff, but when Tanya B comes back, I'll let her wrap it up. How about that? So Howie, man, you got anything that stood out for you this week? Anything stood out for you big this week?
Well, I know we talked about D.C. a little bit earlier, but just to circle back on that, that's what dictators do, is they create police states. And I think that's exactly what our current president and current administration is doing. He's putting our military all over the place as if he's some strong man. And that really makes our country a bit closer to third world leadership. And it's sad that we have to continue to go through that. One other thing, Beaufort High School released their $62 million stadium last night. Beaufort against Milton. High school football, right?
I saw the drone shot, brother. I was like, whoa, this is college level. You know?
They said the cheerleading dressing room was even nice, So they really put the money in there, and we're getting more Texas-like, if you will. But that's one thing that happened locally or semi-locally this week. And then finally, I just want to say I'm so looking forward to 13 days from now when NCAA football gets started. And you got week 1. You're going to have week 0, which is a few teams, but week 1 is that Ohio State-Texas game I'm looking forward to as well.
Big time, man.
That's kind of what I had. This week has been slammed with just stuff in my life this week.
I hear you. Quick question, man, on Texas and Ohio State. Who do you see?
Well, it's going to be a tough game. The downfall, I don't want to start out negatively, but I will. Pat Patricia is a DC at Ohio State. He's probably the worst football coach that I've ever seen outside of my Pop Warner coach, who was really a fireman. You know what I mean? And I say that tongue in cheek, kind of, but I think the coach, what's the coach, head coach in Texas? I can't think of his name, but I do see Bourbon is
Sark. Steve.
Sark. Yeah. Steve. Yeah, I think he's going to outpace Matt Patricia when it comes to their Texas offense versus Ohio State's defense. And one quick thing, the Manning brothers or the Manning family put out the quarterbacks to watch this year when it comes to NCAA football. And guess whose name was not on the list? Arch Manning.
Not Arch. Wow. Interesting.
Well, I guess they didn't want any home cooking in the discussion. I guess they didn't want any home cooking, but his name was not on the list as quarterbacks to watch this year in NCAA football.
Wow. That's a big move. Because I think, and I'll say this, the reason why Texas didn't go all the way was because of the refusal to play Arch Manning and play Ewers through all that. So I think if they're going to go all the way this year, this is the year with Arch. So we'll see. That's just me. No,
that's a good statement, because I read this week where some people on the internet was slamming either Arch Manning or Steve Sarkisian for not playing him after they seen Ewers in his debut for the Miami Dolphins. So it's like, what do you mean? Arch couldn't bypass Ewers when he was in Texas? So you're 100% right. That could be the very reason they didn't make it and win the championship.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, man. I think Manning's a much better quarterback. So I'll leave it at that. And we're gonna do a show at the beginning of the season, kind of do our, as we always do, our picks. So we'll make our picks for the season. Okay. Yeah. All right, man. Let's go ahead and do a round.
It's time to wrap it up. This is the G Podcast.
Don't forget, y'all, you can scan the QR code, logo, all of our social media is there. Go to castropolis.net. That is up. The people poll, love to hear you. Voice message, make sure you're on Spotify. You can follow us there. You can also comment on Spotify. Also, as I said before, escape the drama, man. Velvet Frequency Radio is calling your name. It is there. Also, we're on Facebook right now. You can check us out. All you have to do is search Velvet Frequency Radio. The Facebook page is there. All the links are there to listen. And we'll have more social media rolling out in the next few weeks, okay? Don't forget also Saturday nights, we do Club Velvet Frequency 10P to 2A. Get the free Live 365 app. Look up Velvet Frequency Radio. And big sponsorship coming up real soon, man. Big, football, the crew. We're heading into football season.
Oh, nice.
So some folks you know, Howie. Some folks you know. Yeah. There you go.
Oh,
Howie, as always, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. We're going through that season where a lot of back to school, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of adjustments of schedules. So we'll be back on schedule within the next few weeks. Again, thank you so much, man. I got to give you your props, man. Officially just saying, have I doing? Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much, Howie.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Anytime I can come on, I appreciate it. I love the city and with you guys, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. And with that, episode 279 is in the can. Y'all have a great week. Peace, power to the people. Have a great week.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. And This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.